Welcome back to the channel. They call it a silent war. No breaking news, no front page stories, but villages are attacked, families are displaced, and markets are empty. In many parts of Nigeria, especially in the southeast and middle belt, a dangerous struggle is unfolding between Fulani armed groups and Igbo communities. The shocking truth is that the mainstream media avoid telling this story in full. They show small clips of events but never the bigger picture. And why the world looks away, the grand reality is bloody. This is Fulani versus Igbos, the silent war the media won't show you. Biafra only escape. Stay with me till the end of this analysis. Why? Because what I'm about to reveal goes far beyond the little you see online. You will hear the latest facts and verified reports about the conflict. You will see how this violence is affecting Igbo communities and why many feel abandoned. Most importantly, you will understand what options the Igbos truly have to escape this circle without being wiped out. If you leave halfway, you will only hear half of the truth. But if you stay with me, you will get the full picture and you will understand why the silence of the media is more dangerous than the bullets of the attackers. The rising tide of killings. Across Nigeria today, killings are happening at an alarming rate. Reports confirm that dozens have died in sudden night attacks this year alone. Some communities in Benue, Plateau, Enugu, and Anambra have been struck without warning. Villagers describe armed men arriving, touching homes, and shooting anyone in sight. Entire settlements have been destroyed overnight. What makes it worse is the deliberate way these attacks happen. Victims say the attackers move in with confidence, as if they know no one will stop them. They leave behind trails of burnt houses, dead bodies, and widows crying for justice. Yet, after the dust settles, little or no help comes from authorities. The killings are not random. Patterns show this violent raids often happen in areas rich in farmland, water, and grazing routes. This raises a painful question. Is this conflict truly about revenge, or is it about land control? For Igbo communities watching this spread from the middle belt into the southeast, the fear is very real. The tide is rising, and every time one region falls silent, the violence moves closer to the next. This is why the Igbos are paying close attention, because they could be the next target where the attacks hit others. The middle belt has long been the main flashpoint. States like Benue, Plateau, and Nasarawa record some of the worst attacks. One village have been wiped out. Survivors often flee to IDP camps, living under poor conditions, waiting for safety that never really comes. But now, the violence is spreading southward. Imo and Anambra, both in Igbo land, have seen increasing attacks on highways, villages, and even marketplaces. Travelers have been ambushed, buses set on fire, and farmers chased from their lands. Reports show that communities once thought safe are suddenly facing night raids. Families sleep in fear, knowing that an attack could happen anytime. Worse still, attackers often vanish before security forces arrive. By the time help comes, it is already too late. The pattern is clear. Start from the middle belt, then move southward. This gradual expansion feels like a strategy. Slow, steady, and designed to spread fear. That is why many believe the Igbos are now in the direct line of fire. Human rights groups like Amnesty International have repeatedly raised alarm, about what is happening. Their reports speak of unlawful killings, disappearance, and mass displacement. They describe how armed herders, militaries, and sometimes even state security force contribute to the violence. This shows it is not a simple case of one tribe versus another. But on the ground, victims don't care who is pulling the trigger. All they know is their life being torn apart. Villagers tell story of losing everything, loved ones, homes, and livelihoods. Within hours, when Amnesty and other groups publish these findings, the government often promise action, yet months pass and no little change. This report also highlights how the violence is driving one of the biggest internal displacement crises in Africa. Families are forced to abandon their land and move into crowded camps. Children grow up without schools, women suffer without healthcare, and men lose their dignity of work. Despite these warnings, very few international bodies take firm action. That is why the Igbo communities feel isolated. They ask if global organizations know the truth and still do nothing. Who then will stand for the people? This silence fuels the fear that the worst is yet to come. The deadly sit-at-home orders, while outside attackers threaten the land. Another painful reality is hurting the Igbo people from within. The sit-at-home orders, what began as a peaceful protest for the release of Nnamdi Kanu, has turned into a heavy burden on ordinary people. Every Monday, shops are shut, schools are closed, and transport is grounded. At first, people obey out of solidarity, but over time, violence crept in. Those who disobey became targets. Traders who tried to open shops faced threats. Drivers who attempt to walk were attacked. In some cases, lives were lost simply for refusing to stay indoors. The economic impact is devastating in regions where daily trade keeps family alive. Losing one day every week is a hard blow. Students miss lessons, businesses lose customers, and families struggle to eat. What was meant to empower the struggle has sadly turned into another source of pain. This is where the silent war becomes even more dangerous. Igbos are attacked from the outside and weakened from the inside. And while many leaders condemn the violence, the reality is that ordinary people suffer the most. The sit-at-homes has become another silent weapon that deepens fear and economic hardship in the southeast. Why the media stay silent? One of the biggest puzzles is this silent war. Is the role of the media. Why did the killings rarely make front page headlines? Why did the suffering of communities disappear quickly from the news cycle? The answer is simple but painful. Silence benefits the powerful. When violent attacks happen, the government often moves quickly to downplay them. They call it clashes or community disputes, as if it were two equal sides fighting, but on the ground, ordinary people know the truth. They were being targeted, pushed away from their land, and left without protection. By reducing the coverage, those in power can quietly pause their own agendas. Land grabs become easier. Political promises are not questioned, and foreign investors are not scared away. The victims are left voiceless, while the narrative is carefully controlled. For the Igbos, the silence is deadly, because when the media ignores your pain, the world does not notice. And when the world does not notice, no one comes to help. That is why many believe the media blackout is part of the strategy to make people suffer in silence until it is too late. The means of armed actors. It is tempting to say this conflict is simply Fulani versus Igbo, but the truth is far more complicated. Reports show that many groups are involved. Armed herders, criminals gangs, local courts, vigilante groups. Sometimes these groups fight for land, sometimes for money, and sometimes simply for power. The problem is that when any attack happens, locals quickly point fingers at Fulani herders. In many cases, that is accurate, but in other cases, attackers wear the mask of herders to hide their real identity. This creates confusion and fuel even more division. This means of actors also makes it harder to solve the conflict. How do you negotiate peace if you don't even know who the attackers are? How do you defend your community if the threat comes from many different directions? For the Igbos, this is a nightmare because every new group that joins the violence increases the risk of more bloodshed, and every mislabeling of attackers deepens ethnic hatred. The silent war is not only about bullets, it is also about narratives, confusion, and fear. And this confusion is exactly what keeps the violence alive. Government responds too little, too late. Each time a deadly attack happens, Nigerian leaders step forward with promises. They announce investigation, send small teams of soldiers, and assure the nation that justice will be served. But by the time action is taken, the attackers are already gone, and the victims are left to bury their dead. Villagers in Benue, Plateau, and even the Southeast often complain that security forces arrive hours, sometimes days, after an attack. By then, houses are ashes, families are in mourning, and survivors are running for their lives. The lack of quick response makes people believe the government is either unwilling or unable to protect them. This slow reaction is more than incompetence. It creates a dangerous feeling among victims that the state has chosen sides. Some even suspect deliberate neglect. Whether true or not, the perception alone weakens trust in the system. And without trust, communities begin to look for their own way of survival, often by arming themselves. For Igbos, this government inaction is a warning. If the state cannot protect, what chance do the Southeast village have? This is why many believe they must prepare now before the same neglect swallow Igbo land. The economic destruction. Violence is not only measured by death, it is also measured by hunger, poverty, and broken livelihoods. In the Southeast, farmers are afraid to go to their fields. Many abandon their crops halfway, fearing attacks. Traders close their shop earlier than usual, while transporters refuse to travel on certain routes. This economic shutdown has deepened consequences for price rising, unemployment increases, families who depend on daily income are left stranded, and when sit-at-home orders shut businesses. Once a week, the loss multiplies. The Southeast, once known for vibrant markets, now feel like a ghost town on certain days. The destruction is slow but steady. An economy that cannot function is an economy that collapses. Armed groups recruit hungry youth. Politicians exploit suffering. Communities fall into circles of poverty that are difficult to escape. This is why the economic cost of the silent war may be even more dangerous than the killings themselves, because long after the attackers stop, the damage to businesses, education, and livelihoods may take generations to repair. For the Igbos, this economic war is as deadly as the physical one. The battle of narratives. In today's digital world, the war is not only fought on the ground, it's also fought online. Social media is flooded with counterclaims and propaganda. Videos circulated quickly. Some are real, but many are fake. And in the heat of anger, people share without verifying. This battle of narrative is just as dangerous as bullets, because each fake video fuels more hate. Each false story deepens mistrust. Entire ethnic groups are blamed for crimes they did not commit, and communities are pushed closer to revenge. Fact checkers have exposed several viral posts that turn out to be lies. But by the time the truth is revealed, the damage is already done. Fear spread faster than correction. Anger spread faster than facts. For the Igbos, this online war is double-edged. On one hand, it gives them a voice to expose their suffering to the world. On the other hand, it exposes them to false accusations and propaganda that weaken their cause. That is why controlling the narrative is key. In this silent war, whoever controls the story controls the future. Biafra only escape. So, what is the way forward? For the Igbos, many feel trapped between outside attackers, economic hardship, and government neglect. But choosing more violence will only destroy the Igbo further. The only real escape lies in three strategic parts. First, document the truth. Every attack must be recorded with evidence, photos, videos, testimonies, and official reports. The world only acts on proof. Without evidence, stories vanish into silence. Second, build lawful community protection. Communities have the right to defend themselves, but it must be done legally. Local vigilante groups, early warning system, and safe corridors can protect life without turning into another armed threat. Protection must not become another source of fear. Third, internationalize the struggle. Silence is the greatest enemy. If the world does not hear, it cannot act. The Igbos must push their story to NGOs, foreign media, embassies, and international organizations. Global attention forces accountability. Without it, the silent war will remain buried. Biafra escape is not only about breaking away from Nigeria, it is about survival, dignity, and justice. The future depends on whether the Igbos choose silence or action, confusion or clarity, disappear of strategy. The choice is urgent, and the time is now. This conflict is not just about land, it is about survival. It is about whether the Igbo people will remain in control of their destiny or whether they will be slowly erased by violence and silence. The mainstream media may not show you this war, but the evidence is clear. Homes are destroyed, lives are lost, and communities are under threat. The question now is simple but frightening. Will the Igbos act to secure their future, or will they wait until silence buries them completely?